Hey everyone, welcome back to Life After Work. I'm Solomon and I'm right back on the USS New Jersey, but I'm working on the superstructure. Now, so far, I've had a lot of issues. I'm not going to get into bashing this model anymore. The trick is to just resolve the issues, and I've been resolving them, so I think let's just pull this around. I think I've got at least here, and not everything's done. I haven't glued everything in, but I've been putting pieces on, trying to get some fit on pieces, and it's been tough. I've had to do a lot of sanding, a lot of filing, and I've got a lot of plastic here that's not nearly as thick as it used to be. Once I get most of this done, I'm going to go back in and do some very, very judicious puttying. But that's going to be very fine lines, and I'll show you how I do that when I do it. My next move, because I'm getting up so high on here now, is to get to etch brass. This smokestack is supposed to be ground out, and I've got 2 or 3 pieces of etched brass to go on to make it right, and it will sit right up here. And I've got 2 of them, so that if I mess one up, I've got another one, so I can work on that. I've got more pieces to go under here, ladders and steps and all that, so that's all going to work out well for me. And I'm going to keep working on this model, because now I'm incentivized by the fact that I've got another model I want to work on more. But I will not be defeated. I will get this model put together. Now, if you look at some of these pieces, and I'm going to try my best to zoom in, and believe me, there's some little fiddly pieces. If you look here, this piece and this piece, it looks pretty cool, right? Well, this was one piece, this was a second piece, and there were no guidelines for how they were to fit in here. And I have on the other side, oops, let's get it over here. On this side, I had the same 2 pieces. They barely fit, and there were no guidelines on how to put them on here. So I looked at the instructions over and over and over, and I finally just said, this is the way it has to work. I mean, with this model, that's kind of what you ultimately have to do. Now, if you come up here, you'll see some more. And I'm going to zoom in right here. Let me bring this around. This piece right here, this was a little lid that went on the top that was to be the roof of this sort of bridge area type. Nothing matched up. Well, you can't really fix that by filing down these uprights, because they break off. They're really, really, really fine. So I got it as close as I could, really hoping that in the end this will be a 10-foot model. You know, stand away 10 feet and it's going to look absolutely great. Now, this isn't straight. I haven't glued this down yet. There you go. Got a lot more pieces to put on here, a lot of support pieces. I'm beginning to get in, like I said, to the etch brass, where I'm going to have to do some things. Well, one of them was back here. I've got to drill a hole up here, get a lot of this centerpiece out of the stack. I'm going to get several pieces of etch brass in there, but then I had to cut off some pieces back here. Well, those pieces don't exist on this model. They just exist on the instructions for the etched brass, not for the model itself. So basically what's going to happen is I'm save some work. I'm not unhappy about that. I get to add on some extra pieces. So the etched brass is, in this case, is going to be less work. So, you know, I'm getting a lot done, getting pieces under here, getting little, and I got to put in ladder ways and stairs, and I've had to grind a lot off of this just to get that piece to fit. So all these little tiny hatches and what have you, they're going to line up now. So I'm moving on. I decided to change my direction, and that direction was to simply start putting as many of the big pieces on as possible, and then going in with little fiddly pieces, as long as I didn't put the big pieces on that made it difficult for me to put the others on. But you're going to see there's a lot of lines, and I don't know how you can see these little lines here, these lines here and here. I'm going to do some model putty, but I'm going to do it in the simplest, finest way. I'm not going to put a whole bunch in and sand it off. Can't do that. But I'm going to use toothpicks and whatever tool I can find that's small enough that when I'm finished, it may not need any sanding. So anyway, this is where the superstructure is. Now let's take a look at where it will be on the ship. And I'm hoping that we'll get this all straightened out. So this is it. This is with the superstructure on the ship. And I think I had some sound problems a minute ago, so let me just say all that again. I've got some warpage, and I think, as you can see right here, I've got some misalignment at the deck, and there we go. I think I can fix a lot of that. Some of it I'm not going to be able to. So my question now is, should I glue the superstructure to the deck first, or glue the deck to the hull and then put the superstructure on and make it fit? Well, that's just part of modeling. You got to work that stuff out. The fact is, it's all going to fit in the end. And in the end, this model is going to look pretty cool. And I'm going to make it work. I mean, I've still got issues. Whoa. I've got to glue some things down. I've got to put more parts on. I've got to do some supports. I mean, I've got a ton of stuff to do. And the higher I go, the more I get into needing to do my etched brass work. I've got to get the gun started. I'm thinking about putting the gun mounts on. I'll do the barrels later, the brass barrels. But I'm making decisions now based on how to move this model forward, and frankly, I think it's going to end up looking good, and I'm hoping no one else will notice just what a pain in the derriere building this model has been. So anyway, that's my update right now, and I will move on.